For the second time in his career, Sami Zayn is United States champion and for the first time in his career, he will be entering WrestleMania as a champion. But will he? Will he actually be going to WrestleMania as champion, or will he be going to Vegas without a match at WrestleMania? Which is why we are going to be talking about who will step up to Sami Zayn for the United States Championship weeks before WrestleMania, because we know Sami Zayn is going to continue the United States Open Challenge. And as I am moving my tripod back a little bit, there we go. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Sorry guys, I had to move my tripod back a little bit. But anyway, as we draw closer and closer to WrestleMania, there are several WWE superstars on SmackDown that would be more than a challenge for Sami Zayn and the United States title. The question is, who will accept the challenge before WrestleMania? Well, we know that Trick Williams is scheduled to challenge for said title at WrestleMania. As of right now, it is going to be against Sami Zayn. However, we do not know if Sami Zayn will be defending the title in Vegas, or if he's going to be going to Vegas without a match. That's why we're going to be talking about who will step up. And again, and to be fair, there are a plethora. There's a plethora of talent on SmackDown that would be more than a challenge for Sami Zayn going into WrestleMania. You've got guys like Aleister Black, Alex Shelley, Angelo Dawkins, Apollo Crews, Axiom, Berto, Carmelo Hayes, the previous champion, Chris Sabin. I would say Cody Rhodes, but he's got his hands full with Randy Orton, unfortunately. Damian Priest, funny enough, one half of the new WWE Tag Team Champions. Dexter Lumis, Drew McIntyre, Eric Rowan, Ilya Dragunov, another former U.S. champion. Jacob Fatu, another former U.S. champion. JC Mateo, a.k.a. Jeff Cobb. Joe Gacy. I would say Johnny Gargano, but he is going to be dealing with Miles Bourne, I believe this upcoming Saturday, right? This upcoming Saturday? Yeah, this upcoming Saturday at NXT Stand and Deliver. I would say Kevin Owens, but he's out with an injury. Kit Wilson, Matt Cardona, Montez Ford, Nathan Fraser, R-Truth. I would say Randy Orton, but again, Cody, of course. Ray Phoenix. I would say Roman Reigns, the OTC, who is also a former United States champion, but he is over on Raw dealing with CM Punk and his bullshit. Shinsuke Nakamura, who is another former U.S. champion. Solo Sikoa, Tamatonga, The Miz, Tonga Loa, and of course Uncle Howdy as well. So when you really look at it, right? When you look at the roster on SmackDown, you have to look at this from the perspective of who took up that challenge in the U.S. Open Challenge when Sami Zayn first brought it back, when Ilya Dragunov continued it, and when Carmelo Hayes continued it as well. You have to look at it from that perspective, right? Like we saw Like we saw Angel take up that challenge. We saw Apollo Cruz take up that challenge. We saw Axiom take up that challenge. We saw Johnny Gargano take up that challenge. Matt Cardona took up that challenge. Nathan Fraser took up that challenge. Ray Phoenix, Shinsuke, um, in you know, all those guys took up had took up that challenge. Even guys from AAA, they took up the challenge as well. Guys like Mr. Iguana, guys like La Barca, Elio del Dr. Wagner Jr. He took up that challenge as well. So looking at this from that perspective, who could be who should be the first one? Well, I can tell you one thing, it's not going to be Ray Phoenix. The reason for that is because Ray Phoenix is going to be challenging Laredo Kid for the AAA Cruiserweight Championship in less than a couple weeks in in Puebla, Mexico, um, at in over in AAA, which streams every Saturday live on YouTube. Props to WWE for that. Um, it's definitely not going to be any of the members of the White Six, just because of the fact that they're dealing with the MFTs, and then of course also the MFTs. They're neither of them are going to be challenging, because of the fact that Solo Sikoa has pretty much become the new version of Roman Reigns in a matter of speaking. Tama Tonga is dealing with Shinsuke Nakamura, where Shinsuke's been telling Tama to literally leave the MFTs and do his own bullshit. Um, speaking of Shinsuke, it's possible. It's very possible that Shinsuke could potentially take up that challenge. Um, but if we're really thinking about it, realistically, the top four that I would not mind seeing take up that challenge, I would say Apollo Cruz, Carmelo Hayes, Ilya Dragunov, and I would probably say as crazy as this might sound, Damian Priest. Now, Apollo Cruz, people forget he's a former U.S. champion in his own right. In fact, he actually won the title during the pandemic, during COVID, on a episode of I think Raw. Yeah, on an episode of Monday Night Raw, where he became U.S. champion and held on to the title for several months, and then he went on to become Intercontinental Champion, which he held on to that title for several months as well. And those title reigns basically, pretty much proved that Apollo Crews is worthy of being a great champion in WWE. But the problem is that WWE doesn't see him as world champion material, where as opposed to the WWE universe, they see Apollo Crews as world champion material, but he still want but Apollo Crews is having his eyes on the United States title. Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov, they're both owed rematches for the title anyway, so it makes sense that they should step up. And then Damian Priest, interestingly enough, he is also owed a rematch for the United States title, because when he lost the title to Finn Balor a few years ago, he never got his rematch. Interestingly enough, Damian Priest never got his rematch whatsoever. So the question now becomes, from amongst those four, who should step up? As crazy as this might sound, I don't think it's going to be Apollo Crews. Reason for that is because even if Apollo Crews does take up that challenge and win the United States title, there's no guarantee that there's really no guarantee that he will make it to WrestleMania. There's no guarantee because for all we know, he could potentially get injured going into WrestleMania, which is a very high possibility because people forget he suffered an injury several years ago, and he was on the shelf for a long time. So that could play a huge factor going into the potential matchup against Sami Zayn. As far as Damian Priest goes, I don't think it's going to be him. I think just because he's too focused on R-Truth and the WWE Tag Team titles, and I'm pretty sure that the MFTs are going to want to get their rematch, which could potentially lead to the Wyatt Six getting involved, which could then also lead to another tag team getting involved, which would then lead to a match at WrestleMania for those tag team titles. Because, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, the World Tag Team titles were defended at last year's WrestleMania, so it would only be right for the WWE Tag titles to get defended at this year's WrestleMania. So it now comes to both Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes. They're both extremely incredible. They're both like incredibly gifted athletes. Both are former NXT champions. They're world traveled stars. Even Dragunov has won. Actually, Dragunov has won more championships around the world than Carmelo Hayes, and that's saying a lot because Melo's good. Let's just be real. Melo is good. If we're thinking fantasy booking, I would probably say Ilya Dragunov. But if we're thinking reality booking, I would say Carmelo Hayes for two reasons. One, it's because the match ended in controversy, to where going into WrestleMania, Sami Zayn is now going to be the potential heel in this story against Trick Williams. And number two, Trick Williams was the one that cost Melo the United States title against Sami Zayn in the first place. So it would only be right if we saw the return match take place, and then we saw the match that everybody wanted to see. Trick Melo Gang, Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes going at it at WrestleMania. So I do believe, if we're thinking reality booking, I think it's going to be Carmelo Hayes. But if you feel like that I am wrong and you feel like that someone else should take up that challenge, you guys can let me know in the comments below. And that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more WWE topic videos in the future, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.